Okay, so let's see. So ISON, 2013. Comet ISON, if Comet ISON survives the sun. Now this is dated November 25th, just a few days before Thanksgiving. You see my point about comets being unpredictable? This is a classic case in point right here, because just on November 25th, we're still not really sure what's going to happen with this comet. If Comet ISON survives the sun, the view may be spectacular. Okay, now Comet ISON is a member of this class that gets very close to the sun, and we'll actually be able to see some videos. Some comets actually run right into the sun, some graze the sun. So it was known that Comet ISON was going to be a sun grazer. It was going to get real close to the sun. That's why it would either be spectacular, because it would be so bright from being close to the sun, or a complete dud, because it might actually vaporize totally. Right? So this is why we didn't know back on November 25th that it was going to survive the solar encounter. Now on December 2nd, it's gone. Okay? This is the update. December 2nd, Comet ISON is no more, NASA says. They couldn't predict that in advance. Again, I mean, as much as we knew about this body, we didn't know what was actually going to happen. That's a time-lapse little photo of the comet moving around there. And there's a couple of kind of cool YouTube videos here. So here we have Comet ISON approaching the sun. This is time-lapse, of course. I should explain something about what's going on here. So what we've got is we're observing the sun with a special telescope. And that black disk is something that we have to use to block the sun. Because if we include the sun in our field of view, it's going to blind the detector, and the detector won't be able to see the comet, because the comet is so faint compared to the actual sun. So you block the sun with this thing we call a solar occulter. And that little yellow thing in the center just represents where the sun actually is in the image. That's not actually a picture of what the sun looked like at that moment. It's just a little kind of artist rendition they stuck on the black disk. Just so you had an idea. So I wanted to mention that, because that way you get a better idea of what's really happening when the comet flies by. Okay, so here it comes. You see solar activity of different types. Now notice it enters a black zone, but it didn't actually hit the sun. And it almost survived, but it's on its way out, on its last leg, as we say, because it just got overheated by the sun. So there's estimates of the SPH that would have been required if we were going to use suntan lotion on this object, and they're in excess of the billions. Okay? That's what you would have needed to keep this poor thing from burning up there. Next lecture, we'll talk about solar activity, which we're seeing a little bit of there. Here's another. It's already running but not responding, so that means that it's going to be killed. I don't like it when it doesn't respond. Let's see. What are you running? I don't see it running. Okay, sorry. Let's resume here. See what we can do. Okay, I'm going to try some more time. Okay, well anyway, actually isn't that exciting. What that would have been is another YouTube video taken by the Deep Impact mission, which is actually designed to troll around and visit comets. But what you really see is just a bright thing moving across a starry background. It's not really as dramatic as this, because Deep Impact was looking at the comet when the comet was really far away from the sun, like, okay, now I'm posting. This calls for the task manager. You guys probably don't know about this. This is kind of advanced stuff. Okay, now, Firefox isn't running anymore. See if it'll still complain. Here we go. Okay, this is a real short one. Soundtrack. I have no idea why they bothered with the soundtrack. But anyway, you see 493 million miles way out around the distance of Jupiter, roughly. Here we see Comet ISON moving against a romantic starry background. But notice there's no tail, because it's just too far out. Too far out in the average solar system. So ISON is making its first trip after discovery, but we're not seeing a tail out there. Okay, tail formed, it was much closer, and it did not survive the transit. I mentioned I was going to show you a plot of the orbital shape. There it is. That's the actual orbital shape. It's coming in at an angle of around 18 degrees, I think, from the ecliptic plane. And notice that it's a very elliptical orbit, and it just pegs the inner solar system. In fact, it was practically a bullseye on the sun, which is why it didn't survive, right? If it had actually been just a little less eccentric, you know, if its eccentricity had been a little lower, not quite close to 1, it wouldn't have gotten so close to the sun, and it would have actually survived. But this one had an eccentricity way over 99%, and so its perihelion distance was almost just the distance of the radius of the sun, about a million miles or so. So anyway, it was just an incredible thing. It's like winning the lottery, or in this case, losing the lottery, because the odds of it having an orbit like that are incredibly small. It's a short period comet. It got messed with in the Kuiper belt, and it just happened perfectly, so that it ended up with this perihelion distance that was almost as small as the actual solar radius. Very unlikely thing to have happen. About as unlikely as the recount in the Attorney General race in Virginia. That's actually blowing my mind. You realize that those two candidates have the same number of votes to about 99.999%. That's how close that is. 165 votes out of about 2 million votes. It's uncanny. Amazing. Anyway, this is sort of like that, an uncanny, amazing thing that it's able to come in that far. Okay, meteorites. I shouldn't want to spend too much time on this because we've already talked about this a fair amount. We've already talked about, we have the stone meteors, the iron meteors that are actually more rare. And this is just a shooting star, nice shooting star with a nice backdrop there. This is a famous nickel meteorite, landed with a nickel in its pocket. But it wasn't enough to survive on planet Earth, so there's no life on that particular meteorite. It's a stony meteorite with a fusion crust, dark fusion crust, which actually sounds delicious, doesn't it? That's like a trendy thing now, to have a dark fusion crust on your food. Okay, meteorites, a little bit more that we didn't talk about last time. When we're talking about iron meteorites, we sometimes see an amazing phenomenon when we slice that meteorite open against its will. We sometimes see very large crystals of iron in there. And when we look at that and we see crystals like that, we actually know right away, just from the size of those iron crystals, this could not be an earthly formed object. Because you don't form crystals like that unless you let the body cool from molten iron to solidify over a very long period of time. If you cool it too fast, you just end up with what we normally think of as iron, not really crystalline, just a massive metallic mass. But if you cool it very slowly, you can form crystals like this. But it takes millions of years for that to happen. And so what we're looking at is the amazing evidence that this was part of a really large body, probably a planetary body, for at least for millions of years. And then after all this, after the formation of these crystals and the slow cooling, it just gets hit by something and completely blasted apart. I mean, it's a pretty incredible universe out there, even in our own solar system. All kinds of crazy things happening. We don't see this on Earth because there's no place on Earth where this kind of slow cooling actually occurred. Most of the iron in the Earth is still molten. And the iron on the surface cooled too quickly to form these crystals. So they're definitely of an extraterrestrial origin. The Wittmann-Stapp pattern, as it says there. And just another example. Crystals, okay. Sometimes we see, again, dramatic melting phenomenon. We saw back in the 90s, I think it was, comet Shoemaker-Levy actually collided with Jupiter. Now, they're amazingly unlikely things that could ever happen, but it was predicted. And it actually hit Jupiter and left a little black eye on Jupiter that was analyzed for a while because it gave us the ability to see deeper layers of gas down inside Jupiter. So that was just an amazing object. Okay, finally, chapter 15. We'll actually kind of buzz through this pretty quickly, so I think we're actually still in pretty good shape. Solar system formation. Okay, so we have, again, here our collection of planets and the sun. We see vast. Somebody's egg timer? Okay. If it's for me, if it's Dick Cheney, take a message. I don't want to talk to that guy right now. I'm really upset about Wisconsin. Or is it Wisconsin or is it
Wyoming.
Where?
Wyoming.
Wyoming, exactly. It was one of those big W things. Okay. here's our solar system, okay? We've laid out our solar system. We see patterns of regularity. We see the region of the terrestrial planets. We see the region of the gaseous planets. Changes in density as we move out away from the sun, which is that differentiation across the solar system I talked about. So if we're going to describe, try to understand the formation of the solar system, what we actually have to do is understand the patterns that we see, as well as the strange exceptional things that happen too. We've noticed patterns and exceptional phenomena throughout the whole semester. There's, of course, planets are increasing their distance from the sun. That's pretty straightforward. Their masses have a distribution. They have different eccentricities of their orbits, different orbital inclinations, which is the angle of their orbit, and tilt angles and spin periods. And then we can go on different atmospheric compositions and temperatures, pressures, surface gravities, moons, formation histories. So when we're talking about the planets, we usually reference things to earthly conditions. So in Earth units, we see that Earth has 1 unit of distance from the sun, 1 unit of density, 1 unit of mass. And we see the terrestrials are pretty near the earthly values. But of course, we see giant planets with much larger masses and lower densities when we get farther from the sun. Okay, so the two classes of terrestrials and the Jovians. Occasionally on my makeup exams, twice this semester, I've had people talk about the jovial planets, which is nice. They're very friendly. They're in a good mood out there, partying in the outer solar system. Nobody bothers them out there. They can do what they want. So of course, they're the jovial planets. The terrestrials are the ones near the sun. They're small with the high densities. Jovians are farther away. Huge planets, low densities. Why? I mean, that's really the question we're asking in chapter 15 is, okay, we've seen all this stuff, but why does it look the way that it looks? Why do we see the groupings that we see? The terrestrials tending to be small, dense, and rocky with weak magnetic fields. The Jovians, or jovials, way out in the outer solar system, large and gaseous, strong magnetic fields. And even the distributions of moons are completely different. We have like about 120 moons in the outer solar system, only 3 moons in the inner solar system, talking about the terrestrial planets. Okay, so again, we have great regularity, and then we have exceptions. So, for example, the one overriding regularity that's never actually violated is that all the planets orbit counterclockwise with view to the North Celestial Pole. So if you fly up over Earth's North Pole, and you ever get to the North Celestial Pole, but you can't get there because it's really far away, but yeah, you go up a few million kilometers or so, and you look down, you'll see that all the planets are orbiting counterclockwise. So that's a pattern that's never broken. Pretty much everything else has exceptions.